The statues gleam in white marble perfection. The philosophers speak of reason and virtue. The temples rise toward a clear blue sky. Ancient Greece, cradle of democracy, birthplace of philosophy, and the foundation of Western civilization. That's the Greece we like to remember. But beneath the shining marble, in the shadows of its temples and theaters, there was another Greece, one built on blood, fear, and contradiction. A Greece that believed in freedom, but owned slaves. A Greece that worshipped beauty, but glorified war. And a Greece that gave us democracy, but silenced its own dissenters. Let us walk into the streets of Athens, not the romanticized city of marble, philosophers, and noble debates, but the real Athens of 2,400 years ago, where the air reeked of sweat, wine, and smoke, and the cries of slaves echoed from the agora. Here, the idea of democracy was born, but not for everyone. Out of a population of perhaps 250,000, only about 30,000 men wealthy, land-owning citizens could vote. Women, foreigners, and the enslaved majority were excluded from this government of the people. For every philosopher discussing ethics in the agora, there were dozens of slaves hauling stones to build the Parthenon. Freedom, it seems, had a very narrow definition. The irony didn't end there. The Athenians celebrated reason and debate, yet they could turn deadly against anyone who challenged their pride. Take Socrates, the father of Western philosophy, a man who questioned everything, who saw truth above comfort. The same democracy that celebrated free thought condemned him to death for corrupting the youth and disrespecting the gods. His crime? Asking too many questions. In 399 BCE, he calmly drank the cup of hemlock handed to him by his fellow citizens, his last words urging them to pay a debt to a god, as if even in death, he wanted them to remember the price of their beliefs. But perhaps the most disturbing truth lies not in Athens' politics, but in its culture. Greek society was built on hierarchy and domination. Every home of the wealthy had slaves. Some were war captives, others born into bondage. In Sparta, slavery reached brutal extremes. The Helots enslaved Messenians outnumbered their Spartan masters 7-1. To maintain control, the Spartans created a system of terror. Each year, young Spartans were encouraged to roam the countryside and murder Helots who appeared too strong or rebellious. They even turned killing into a form of training, a ritualized genocide to preserve their way of life. And Sparta, that proud warrior state, was no utopia of courage and equality, as Hollywood might suggest. Boys were taken from their mothers at age 7, trained to kill, to endure hunger, cold, and pain. The weak were left behind, literally thrown off cliffs, according to some sources. Their lives were sacrifices to an ideal of perfection. The perfect soldier, the perfect body, the perfect obedience. Meanwhile, women in Athens were treated little better than property. A woman could not vote, hold office, or even walk the streets alone without suspicion. Her main duty was to bear children and run the household. Respectable Athenian women were expected to remain unseen behind walls, behind veils, behind silence. Yet, in a twist of irony, the Greeks worshipped female deities of wisdom, love, and war. Athena was the goddess of wisdom, Aphrodite of desire, Artemis of the hunt. Women could be goddesses, but not citizens. The contradictions ran deep into their religion too. The Greek gods were powerful, but far from moral. They lied, cheated, and took vengeance without mercy. Zeus, king of the gods, seduced or abducted countless mortals, often by deception. Hera, his wife, punished the women he wronged more harshly than Zeus himself. Ares gloried in slaughter. Dionysus drove men mad. For a people who prized reason, their gods reflected chaos. The rituals that honored these gods could be just as dark. Animal sacrifice was common, with blood spilled to please divine forces. But there were darker cults, two mystery religions, that promised secret wisdom and life after death. often involving hallucinogens, sexual rites, or human sacrifice in earlier times. The Eleusinian mysteries, the most famous of all, were so secret that revealing their rituals was punishable by death. To this day, no one knows exactly what happened inside their sacred halls. And then there's the story of the Oracle of Delphi, the woman who spoke for Apollo, her words shaping the fate of nations. Behind the mystical image was a far more disturbing truth. The priestess, known as the Pythia, sat above a fissure in the earth, inhaling fumes that may have been toxic gases rising from below. In her trance, she spoke incoherently, and male priests interpreted her words to kings and generals. The voice of the gods, it seems, might have been the whisper of madness or manipulation. Even Greek warfare, so often painted as glorious, had a sinister underbelly. At Thermopylae, we celebrate the 300 Spartans who stood against Persia. What we forget is that they were accompanied by thousands of other Greek soldiers, men whose names were lost, their sacrifices overshadowed by legend. And after the wars, when Greece defeated Persia, the victors didn't bring peace, they turned on each other. Athens and Sparta plunged the Greek world into decades of brutal civil war. Cities were burned, citizens slaughtered, temples looted. The same civilization that gave us the Parthenon also gave us plague and famine. In 430 BCE, a mysterious epidemic swept through Athens, killing tens of thousands, including the great statesman Pericles. Thucydides, the historian who survived it, described scenes of horror bodies piled in the streets, families abandoned, law and order collapsing. The Athenians had built their greatness on order, reason, and discipline. But when death came, they lost it all. He wrote that men now did openly what they would formerly have done in secret. Civilization had cracked open, revealing what lay beneath. And yet, this is what makes ancient Greece so hauntingly human. Its brilliance and its brutality were intertwined. The same society that invented democracy also invented tyranny. The same thinkers who questioned the cosmos also justified slavery. The same sculptors who carved gods from marble carved cruelty into their own history. Even their legacy was tainted by their contradictions. When the Romans admired Greek art, they took the beauty and left the ethics behind. When the Enlightenment rediscovered Greek philosophy, it celebrated reason but forgot the blood that paid for it. We inherited Greece's ideals, but also its illusions. So, was ancient Greece truly a golden age, or a mirror reflecting both the best and worst of humanity? Perhaps it was both. Perhaps that's what makes it endure, not as a perfect civilization, but as a profoundly flawed one. The Greeks dreamed of gods, but lived as men with all the brilliance, cruelty, and confusion that humanity can hold. And maybe that's the real lesson of ancient Greece. Beneath every marble statue, there's a shadow. Beneath every legend, a truth we'd rather not see. Civilization is not built on perfection, but on the struggle between our highest ideals and our darkest instincts. The Greeks simply dared to live both, and left us the echoes of their triumphs and their sins. The next time you look at a Greek column glowing in the sun, remember the hands that built it, the lives that paid for it, and the ghosts still whispering in its shadow. The glory of Greece was real, but so was its darkness. And in that tension, perhaps, lies the secret of all civilizations that rise and fall.